is going to. We need to be familiar with both pronunciations because it's very common for people to say, "I'm gonna go to the park. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna go to work tomorrow," or I'm not gonna work." Instead of saying "I'm going to." When you say "will," that's easy. That will be nice. You see, that's very easy to understand. Or the park will be crowded. Will be. Okay. Jane will have some things in the show. So again, you have um, going to go, or I will go. I will be nice, or that is going to be nice. Going to and will are both future. Okay. Will is more common. It's more popular, especially in Mexico. I think people in Mexico conjugate the verb in the future with will more often than going to. But the Americans will conjugate the future with going to. So we need to get familiar. Okay, we need to get familiar with both conjugations, will and going to. Okay, it is very common. Any questions, anybody? Okay, we did this part already, technically, because you already told us what you're going to do or what you will do. We practiced this in the last class, so this is complete. Basically, we've already completed pretty much everything in this topic. There are more examples, but what I want you to do is after today, I will assign your workbook. Okay, and I'd rather you work on the workbook. You don't have to do any more of the class um, of the uh, of the examples in the Unit 6. I will assign Unit 6 workbook for all of you. Now remember, we're talking about future time clauses. We are still talking about the future, but this is what we began. Um, we saw a little bit of this in the last class. I was telling everybody that everybody should complete. Okay, if you haven't already, everybody should complete units 1 through 6. Okay, the practice is very essential. Also, there's a grade that will be assigned, and a lot of people were missing your workbooks. Okay, if you have a problem with your workbooks, let me know. I had a couple of students that contacted me and told me that they were having that they didn't have access, and I went in and I gave everybody access. So everybody should be able to connect to your workbooks and should not have any problems. But if you do, let me know. Again, I think I only assigned an extension on all units through the last day of September. So after the last day of September, if you did not complete units 1 through 6, you will have a 0. Okay, very important to get it completed. Okay, last class we began this section. We talked about dreams, and that's the reason why we assigned the homework. We're talking about future time clauses. We saw a PowerPoint presentation, okay, and now we're in the book, and we're looking at the structure here, okay. The structure indicates that you have a main clause and you have a short clause, okay, a time clause. Usually the time clause is a little bit shorter, okay. The time clause is usually in the simple present, okay. That's what we're looking at right here. This is the time clause, okay. And the main clause is what we plan to do. The time clause is when you plan to do it. So when is in the present. You're going to say, I will get a job when I graduate. Okay. So I think some of you used a few examples of this in your comments, and some of you said, "I will blah 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 when I graduate," or "I will do this when I graduate," or after I get a job. The when is actually something that indicates that when it's going to occur, something that indicates a time clause. Usually, it has to be in the simple present. Okay, but you need to pay attention to the fact that we have a main clause. The main clause is in the future. It will always uh, be in the future. You cannot put the main clause in the present. You say I will or I am going to. Okay, she will or she is going to. They will or they are going to. And then the base form of the verb, because anytime you conjugate in the future, you use the base form of the verb. I will run. I will work. I will study. I will learn. I will play. You always use the will or the going to plus the base form of the verb in the main clause. Okay? That's very important. If it's a question, you invert. We know this. Right? Will you? Everything else is the same. Everything. I'm talking about it's exactly so that should make it pretty easy because this section is the same. You will still use the base form of the verb, okay? You will still use when you graduate or in the form of a question. So if I ask a question, let's say, Mario, will you um, will you move? Let's see, will you move out of your mom's house when you graduate?
Yes,
What are you gonna do?
but after 1 year, after I work.
Oh, okay, okay. So he says yes after 1 year. Okay. And again, we're using will you and then the base form of the verb. And when you graduate. Okay. Very good. So you say, he says yes after I work for a year. That's his reply. Yes after I work. You could say, you could say the same thing again. I will move out of my mom's house, blah, blah, blah. And then you say when. In the time of you say after I work for for a year. Okay, if you notice, look at the pattern here. The time marker is in the simple present after when you graduate and after I work for a year. The question is in the future. Will you move out? And he says, I will move out. You see, even in the answer. So the question and the answer have the same format. He says, I will move out. He puts the will here. I will move out of my mom's house after I work for a year. He does not say, I move out of my mom's house after I will work. That's confusing. You cannot put the will in the time clause, or you cannot use the simple present in the main clause. It has to be main clause in the future, time clause in the simple present. Any questions? Anybody? No questions? Okay, what about Sammy? Sammy, will you stay in Mexico um, when when you grow up?
I think probably I will stay.
Okay, so probably I will stay in Mexico when I grow up. So you can say again, she can use probably, yeah, because that's probably the case, but not sure, but yes. So again, um, probably that's good. Okay, so if I ask Jocelyn, let's see, Jocelyn already told us she was going to get an apartment. Okay, Jocelyn, um, where will you move to? Where will you get an apartment um, after you graduate? Where?
That's a good question. mm, I think anywhere in the city that I can afford.
Anywhere in the city where you can afford. Okay, very good. So, okay, depending on where you can, depending on the cost. Okay, very good. Let's ask Daniel. Daniel is here. Let's ask Daniel. Daniel, if I ask you, um, what will you do after you graduate?
I will travel to Europe after I graduate.
Excellent. I will travel to Europe after I graduate. He says, I will, the main clause in the future, right? Or he could say, I'm going to travel to Europe. And then he says, after I graduate. Okay, very good. Excellent. Um, Victoria, will you move out of your mom's house when you graduate?
Mm, yes, I moved on my house after 3 years when I graduate.
Okay, so I will move out by myself 3 years after I graduate. Okay, good. She gives herself a specific time to work and save money. Excellent. That's very good. So she plans to do it 3 years after she graduates. Okay, it looks like people are becoming Americanized. In the United States, everybody moves out. Well, but in the United States, they usually move out when they're 18. Even during college, they want to live by themselves. During college, um, some people don't, but a lot of Americans have the tendency to move out of their house when they're 18, and they get roommates, and they continue to go to college, but they live in an apartment. A lot of people do that. That's very common in the United States. So maybe in Mexico, people are starting to do that also. Now, remember, when I ask you a question, if I ask the question in the future, you must answer it in the future. If you remember, uh, technically, if I say, "Will you move out?" Yes, I will. No, I won't. Okay. In a short answer. Of course, if you use a full answer, then it doesn't apply. But if you use a short answer, then you must answer in English with will. Okay. Will you work? Yes, I will. No, I won't. Will you play? Yes, I will. No, I won't. And it's the same thing for all the tenses. In the present, it's the same thing. Do you play soccer? Yes, I do. No, I don't. Does she play soccer? Yes, she does. No, she doesn't. Or in the past, you say, did you play soccer? Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Did do you? I mean, did she work? Yes, yes, she did. No, she didn't. And so you always answer with the same question. The question says, do, you answer with do. If the question says did, you answer with did. If the person says will, you answer with will. If the question uses the verb be, you answer with the verb be. Are you happy? Yes, I am, or no, I'm not. Okay? You must pay attention to the verb. Okay? Either you have a do, or does, or did, or will, or you have the verb be. Okay, the verb be is different. So if I say, Libni, are you um, in high school? What is your answer? Are you in high school?
Yes, I am.
Yes, I am. Very good. If I say, Leo, do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't.
No, I don't. Eso sonaba medio like, no, I don't. Okay, okay. So it's a no. And the question there was, do you have? So the verb was have. But when I asked Livni, are you in high school? I used the verb be. I said, are you? So Livni said, yes, I am. Livni said, no, I don't. Okay. So again, normally you use do, or did, well, do or does in the present, did in the past, will in the future. Okay, normally. All right, all right. So if I ask, Mario, do you have a girlfriend?
Yes, I am.
Eh, do you have a girlfriend? What is your answer?
Oh, yes, I do.
Correct. Yes, I do. Is do you? Yes, I do. No, I don't. And if you say, are you happy? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Okay. We have to pay attention to the auxiliary or the verb.
Teacher,
Yes.
no pudo haber sido yes I have.
No. En el momento que te digan, do you have, no se dice yes, I have. Está fuera de estructura. Está mal. Tiene que ser yes, I do. Do you play? Do you work? Do you have? Do you sing? Do you work? Todos son yes, I do. Porque utilizó do en la pregunta, y siempre que con cualquier verbo que no es el verbo ser, vas a contestar con el mismo auxiliar que te pregunten. Si te dicen, do you play? Yes, I do. Si te dicen, does she play? Yes, she does. Si te dicen, did she play? Yes, she did. Si te dicen, will she play? Yes, she will. En el momento que te dicen, are you happy, or are you uh, in class, or are you a teacher? Y se contesta con el verbo ser. Yes, I am, or no, I'm not. Okidoki. A ver, si le pregunto a Ashley. Ashley, do you have a boyfriend? Porque el chisme corre.
It's complicated.
Bueno, al rato platicamos de eso, porque yo hay un chisme por ahí. Pero bueno, voy a dejar que contestes con it's complicated por ahora, te estás zafando. Ya, ahí está comentando, en lugar de decir yes I do, ¿verdad? Encontró una alternativa, ¿verdad? Está diciendo the answer to that question is complicated. Ok, muy bien. Ok, ok. A ver, ¿a quién no le he preguntado? A Sammy. Sammy, do you have a boyfriend?
What's that?
What? No te escuché.
What's that?
What is that? Very good. So yeah, she's staying away from the boyfriend. That's good. She's gonna concentrate on her school. Very good. All right. So so again, it's do you uh, will you or did you or the verb be. Okay. Very good. All right. So again, must remember, none of this changes if you put a WH word.
I have to say something.
Okay, tell me.
I think Joss is missing.
You think what?
Joss is missing.
Ah,
To me.
Jocelyn. Jocelyn, we wanna hear. Do you have a boyfriend, Jocelyn? There's there's some there's some type of indirect uh, uh, statement there that we need to know. Jocelyn, you want to tell us
I can
something?
feel it.
So, what? Do you have a boyfriend?
Um,
Mm.
yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Oh no, this is being recorded.
Yep, this is recorded. This is you better hope your mom doesn't listen to this or your grandpa. so so she said yeah, and I even typed it. Hmm, that was a long hmm, and then a yes I do. Okay, she has a boyfriend, but your priority right now is your studying your studies, right? Is that correct, Jocelyn?
I didn't hear. How was it?
No se
I
escuchó. Se cortó un poquito. What was that?
do you hear me?
Es que como que algo está cubriendo tu micrófono.
Okay, let me borrow my headphones. Do you hear me?
Yes, now we do.
Okay. I didn't listen to the question. What was it?
Your I imagine that your priorities are your school, right? Your studies.
Of course.
Okay, no problem. As long as you don't lose focus on your studies, it's okay. It's healthy. No problem. Very good. So, again, as I was mentioning, when we use WH questions, nothing changes, okay? We have WH questions, and the only thing that changes is you add the WH question. For example, when I asked Jocelyn, where will you move to when you graduate? Right? You can say where, you can say when, you can say what, you can say who, you can say why. You can use any WH question in the main clause, and basically it just different information. You know, you get more information if you use a WH question. Okay, that's more, but everything else remains the same. You still have the main clause, you still have the time clause. The main clause is in the future. The time clause is in the simple present. Okay, let's real quickly. Let's just read over the details here. Ashley, let's start with Ashley. I'm gonna go from top to bottom. Ashley is first, then Danny. Ashley, can you read number one, please? The whole section.
Mhm. Use the future time clauses to show the time relationship between two future events. The verb in the main clause is in the future. The verb in the time clause isn't present. Be careful. Do not use be going or will in a future time clause. The time clause can come at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. The meaning of the same. The meaning is the same. Use a comma after the time clause when it comes to at the beginning. Do not use a comma when it comes at the end. And the next part I can see.
She'll find.
Okay. She will find a job when she graduates. Main clause and the time clause. He's going to move after he graduates. First, he'll graduate, then he'll move. We'll miss him when he leaves. First, he'll leave, then we'll miss him. Not after he is going to graduate, not when he will leave. Before she applies, she will visit schools or she'll visit schools before she applies. Not she'll visit school before she applies.
Excellent. The main thing from this is you must remember that you are not going to use uh, going to or will with the time clause. Okay? Very important. Everything else we already covered, but you cannot put the time clause with the future. You cannot say, I will work when I'm going to blah, blah, blah. That's incorrect. Okay? It's I will work when I graduate, or I will not work when I graduate. Okay? So you do not put going to or will in the time clause. Very important. Okay? Also, there's no, you don't need to put a comma. Okay? It says use a comma after the time clause. Basically, that's what it says in this section. Use a comma after the time clause when it comes at the beginning. You do not need a comma when the time clause comes at the end. Okay, so she'll visit school before she applies, no comma. Okay, but if you say before she applies, then yes, you need a comma um, right in this section right here because you have the time clause at the beginning. Okay, you don't need it when the time clause is at the end. No comma. Any questions, anybody? Those are the main. Everything else we already discussed. We saw it in the presentation. Okay. Now, Danny, can you read number 2, please? The complete section. I think it's a little long, but I'm gonna shrink it for you a little. Uh, number 2, please, Danny.
Okay. Number 2. Future time clauses begin with time expressions that show the order of events. A. When, after, ends, as soon as, introduce the first event. B. Before introduces the second event. C. Until also introduce the second event. It means only up to the time of the second event. D. While introduces an event that will happen at the same time as another event. You can use either the simple present or present progressive with an action verb after while. The examples for letter E, A. When I graduate, I'll look for a job. I'll look for a job after I graduate. First, I'll graduate, then I'll look for a job. As soon as I as soon as I graduate, I'll look for a job. First, I'll graduate immediately. After that, I'll look for a job. Example B, before I get a job, up, teacher, please. With B, yes, there. Before I get a job, I'll finish school. First, I'll finish school, then I'll get a job. Example C, I'll read until I finish this chapter. I'll keep reading, but only up to the time that I finish this chapter, then I'll stop. I won't sleep until I finish this chapter. I'll stay awake, but only up to the time that I finish this chapter, then I'll go to sleep. Example D, while I look for a job, I will go on studying, or while I'm looking for a job, I'll go in on studying. I look for a job and study at the same time.
Excellent. Very good reading. This is in the presentation. We covered all this in the presentation. It's a little complicated. So I recommend, I'm going to make a copy paste with these notes on your WhatsApp. Okay. You're going to have future time classes. Again, well, I'm going to go back to the beginning. No, number 2, that's the beginning. Future time classes begin with time expressions. Okay. Depending on the time expression. Okay. If you say when, after, or as soon as, you're introducing the first event. Okay. So as soon as, blah, 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 that means that event comes first. Okay. Es como decir, tan pronto como logre aquello, haré esto otro. Entonces, estás presentando lo primero con when, con after y con as soon as. Okay. And that's here, like when I graduate, I'll look for a job. No va a ser hasta que gradúes. Primero vas a graduar. Y no importa si viene al principio o al fin de la oración, porque pues eso nada más es el time marker. Puedes decir, I'll look for a job when I graduate, y es lo mismo. Or I'll look for a job after I graduate. Okay, that means first you're going to graduate, then you look for a job. Okay, so again, el when, el after, el as soon as, te dicen qué va primero. Okay, y luego si utilizas el, dice sección B, before, introduces the second event. Okay, so before I get a job, I'll finish school. That means first you'll finish school. Okay, el momento que dices antes de, en español tiene sentido, ¿verdad? Before es antes de. Entonces, obvio, pues estás diciendo que antes de qué, antes de que haga aquello, pues ese es el segundo evento. Lo que vas a hacer es el primero, porque en cuestiones de tiempo, el antes viene primero, ¿verdad? Entonces, primero, o sea, tú vas a decir, antes de que bla, 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 haré aquello primero, básicamente. Entonces, before introduces a second event. So, before I finish school, no, before I get a job, I will finish school. Y aquí vemos la línea de tiempo. Okay. Y until también es lo mismo. Introduces a second event. So again, if you say, I'll read until I finish this chapter, quiere decir que vas a leer hasta que acabes este título, esta unidad, este capítulo. Chapter significa capítulo. Entonces, I'll keep reading, vas a seguir leyendo, but only up to the time that I finish the chapter. Then I'll stop. Estás diciendo que después vas a parar, ya, nada más hasta ahí. Until, y por eso se usa la palabra hasta. Okay. Negativo también. I won't sleep until I finish this chapter. No lo vas a hacer. No vas a dormir. Hasta que acabes eso. Y después de eso ya vas a poder dormir. Okay. While es cuando dos cosas están sucediendo al mismo tiempo. Okay. Entonces hay que conocer. A veces inviertes la palabra o no usas el marcador de tiempo correcto y cambias el significado de lo que dijiste. Okay. Si hay dos cosas que están sucediendo al mismo tiempo, debes usar wow. No puedes usar when, no puedes usar until, no puedes usar before. Si las cosas van a suceder en el mismo periodo de tiempo, es while. Vas a decir, while I look for a job, I'll go on studying. Okay? Entonces, mientras que busco trabajo, seguiré estudiando. Okay? While I'm looking for a job, I'll go on studying. I'll look for a job and study at the same time. Quiere decir que va a hacer lo mismo al mismo tiempo. A ver, vamos a ver los ejemplos aquí. Estamos viendo los ejemplos, ¿ok? El primero con when, after, or as soon as. Ya lo hicimos. A todos les pregunté qué iban a hacer cuando graduaran. Todos dijeron when I graduate, bla, bla, bla. O after I graduate, bla, bla, bla. ¿Verdad? Or as soon as I graduate, bla, bla, bla. Or before I graduate, before I get a job, I'll finish school. Entonces, el when, or el as soon as, o el before, ya lo practicamos bien. El until, donde se presenta el segundo evento. A ver, un voluntario, levante la mano ahí, seleccionen ahí donde está la manita. Si ustedes pueden decir una oración con until, igual a como está el ejemplo aquí, de algo en sus vidas que piensan hacer hasta que suceda eso. A ver, levanten la mano. Si nadie levanta la mano, voy a asignar a alguien. Nomás quiero saber si hay un, ¿cómo se dice? A brave person. Y tenemos a alguien que se lo sabe. A ver. Les voy a dar un ejemplo. Let's see. En cuestiones de la clase, si alguien me pregunta, yo voy a decir, I'll be online until my class ends. Fijan, algo muy simple. Estaré en línea hasta que se acabe mi clase. Algo así. Ok, ya tenemos gente voluntarios. Ok, primero Jocelyn, y luego Victoria, y luego Mario. Jocelyn.
A ver.
I will buy a car until I save enough money.
Ok, quiere decir que lo vas a comprar. Ok, until I save enough money. Entonces, ahí ponle atención si es afirmativo o negativo. O sea, lo vas a comprar. Es que aquí tenemos que ponerle. Exactly. I won't buy a car. No voy a comprar carro hasta que guarde suficiente dinero. ¿Te fijas? Ahí es fácil confundirse. Ok.
Sí, la que dije al principio hubiera funcionado con after.
Ándale. After. Si hubieras dicho I will buy a car after I save enough money, eso sí hubiera funcionado. Pero cuando usas until, pues no puedes comprarlo hasta que juntes el dinero. Entonces lo vas a hacer negativo. I won't buy. Lo tuve que pensar, fíjate, hasta es confuso. Pero sí, técnicamente me decir I won't buy a new car until I save enough money. Very good, very good. Victoria, what's your example? ¿Qué ejemplo tienes tú?
I will type the paragraph until I finish the homework.
Excellent. Vas a estar teclando hasta que acabes. That makes sense. Eso tiene sentido. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Livni, y luego Samantha, y luego Mario.
I'll stay awake until I finish my homework.
I will stay awake until I finish my homework. Correct. Tiene sentido. Vas a mantener, o podrías decir I won't go to sleep until I finish my homework. Ambos significan lo mismo. Excellent. Very good. That was Livni. Victoria. ¿Victoria lo hizo? No. Victoria.
Yes, teacher, lo acaba de hacer.
Ah, sí, cierto. Victoria es el que acaba de hacer uno. Sí, cierto. Sorry, Victoria. Ando confusa. Era Victoria y luego Livni. Ahora Samantha y luego Mario.
I don't know if it's right, but my example is someone stopped reading until I get the new exercise.
No, nomás soy yo el que escuchó a Victoria mal o ustedes la escucharon bien. ¿Me lo puedes repetir, Victoria? Porque se oyó muy... no se escuchó.
This is me, Samantha.
Porque se oye...
Yeah, I like to. ¿Cómo se está piteando?
¿Ustedes me escuchan a mí?
Sí.
A ver, Victoria, parece que tienes problemas de conexión. ¿Quieres teclarlo ahí en el WhatsApp chat? Y ahorita yo lo paso para acá. Teclalo ahí en el WhatsApp chat.
Teacher,
Ajá.
es Samantha, no yo.
Ah, sorry. Es que ya me quedé con el nombre de Victoria y ya no lo solté. Sorry, Sammy.
Don't worry, escucho que se escucha doble, entonces no sé si ese es el problema.
Teacher, ¿no será porque están ambos micrófonos prendidos?
Sí, puede ser que tienes dos aplicaciones abiertas o nomás una. Sí, pues, a lo mejor es por eso. Pero para que no batalles por ahorita, téclalo en el WhatsApp chat. Digo, no en el WhatsApp chat. Bueno, el que es donde se te haga más fácil. Puede ser el WhatsApp chat o puede ser en el meeting chat. Cualquiera de los dos. El meeting chat de Microsoft Teams o en el WhatsApp chat. Por ahorita. Bueno, tú teclalo mientras que Mr. Mario nos dice la parte de él. A ver, Mario.
I want to be married until I am 25.
Very good. Tienes buenos planes. No me voy a casar hasta que tenga 25 años. I won't get married until I'm 25. Very good. Excellent. Vamos a ver. A ver, vamos a esperar los detalles de Sammy.
Teacher, creo que ya los mandó al WhatsApp.
Ok. Aquí los ando buscando. ¿Qué puso Sammy? Puso, I won't stop training until I get the new exercise. I won't stop training, dice Sammy, until I get the new exercise. That is correct. O sea, hasta que pueda hacerlo bien, no va a dejar de hacerlo, no va a dejar de entrenar. So, I won't stop training until I get the new exercise. Very good. Ok, muy bien. Todos dieron buenos ejemplos, pero ya vieron cómo puede ser confuso de repente, ¿verdad? Muy importante ponerle atención al marcador de tiempo. Muchos se confunden con el marcador de tiempo. Otra cosa. Algunos se quedan con marcador de tiempo, piensan que es el único y nomás usan ese. Buena idea, variar. ¿Okay? A veces usa until, a veces usas when, a veces usas before, a veces usas after, a veces usas as soon as. Es bueno variarlo. Es un mejor hábito practicar. Inclusive vamos a hacer eso después de esta unidad, después de esta clase. Vamos a estar practicando. Quiero que practiquen con diferentes.
Teacher, falta yo de ejemplo, teacher.
Sí, ya vamos, todavía no acabamos.
Bueno.
¿Habías levantado la mano para el mismo?
Sí, el de I want.
Bueno, no te vi tu mano levantada.
Sí. Es que como que me dio la...
Ok. A ver, ¿qué es lo que quieres decir?
I won't play games until I finish the class.
I won't play games until I finish the class. Muy bien, excellent. No vas a hacer eso hasta que acabes aquello. Excellent, very good. I won't. Negativo. Ahí es donde bueno, que a veces tiene que ser negativo, a veces no es opcional. Tiene que ser negativo, porque no lo puedes hacer hasta que cumplas con aquello otro. ¿Ok? Entonces, en el caso de Leo, en el caso de Jocelyn, era negativo, ¿verdad? Hasta que lograran hacer lo que querían hacer. Ok, a ver, ahora sí, levanten la mano el que tenga un ejemplo con el while. Ok, el que tenga un ejemplo con el while. Acuérdense, tienes while I look for a job, I'll go on studying. Go on significa es como continuar. Puedes utilizar I will continue studying. Significa lo mismo. O while I'm looking for a job. Lo está poniendo en el progresivo. While I'm looking for a job, I'll go on studying. Y ahí lo está. I will continue studying. Ok. Quiere decir que ambas cosas al mismo tiempo. A ver, si yo hago algo similar y utilizo quiero utilizar while en un ejemplo, ¿verdad? Puedo mencionar aquí lo que estoy haciendo, ¿verdad? Voy a decir, while I listen to my students, I will, puedo decir, I will type. While I listen to my students, I will type what they say, lo que ellos dicen. Ahí estoy diciendo las dos cosas que están, lo que yo puedo hacer al mismo tiempo. Mientras que ustedes hablan, yo teclo. Ok, ¿alguien tiene un ejemplo similar? Vamos a ver, alguien envió un WhatsApp. Déjame checar por WhatsApp. Sammy ya lo puso. Excellent. Sammy puso, while I'm studying, I'll be listening to music. I will be. That is correct. While I'm studying, I will be listening. Si puedes hacer las dos cosas al mismo tiempo, that is correct. Es que el while viene siendo un marcador de tiempo, ¿verdad? Pero es marcador de tiempo que indica que durante el tiempo que haces una cosa, en ese mismo tiempo estás haciendo otra. That is correct. Yes, Sammy, that is correct. While I'm studying, I'll be listening to music. Excellent. A ver. ¿Quién más levantó la mano? A ver. No tengo manos. Oh my God. ¿Quién tiene un ejemplo? Ya mero acabamos. ¿Quién tiene un ejemplo? Denme 3 ejemplos y los dejo ir. Si no me dan 3 ejemplos, si no me dan 3 ejemplos, le seguimos otra media hora. Ya levantaron la mano todos. Ok. Mario, empieza tú.
While I'm take a bathroom, I will listen to music.
Excellent. So that you're doing the both things at the same time. Very good. Jocelyn.
I will have dinner while I take my class.
I will have dinner while I take my class. Very good. Yes, you can be chowing down on your lunch while you take your class. Ok, me hace falta un último volunteer. ¿Quién finaliza la clase por nosotros? Ashley.
I will read my books while I'm watching a video.
I will read my book while you're watching a video game?
No, a video. This
Okay.
video about the subject.
Oh, okay. So while you're okay, so you're gonna read the book while you watch a video on the same subject as the book. Okay, it's a little complicated, but it works. It's complicated like your relationship, but yes, it will work. Very good. Bueno. Excelente, hicieron bien. Ya vieron suficientes ejemplos, todos practicaron un poquito. Ahorita les voy a subir una copia de cada una de estas cosas. Y quiero que de aquí a... ¿Son cuántos marcadores de tiempo? Tenemos when, after, as soon as, before, ya son 4, until 5, while 6. Son 6 marcadores de tiempo. Entonces, mínimo, quiero que me envíen 3 oraciones completas utilizando 3 de los marcadores de tiempo de aquí a la siguiente clase el jueves. Okidoki. Ahorita les voy a enviar una copia de esta sección amarilla, ok, para que todos la tengan ahí de refresco, por si se les olvida. Pueden ver la regla y el ejemplo y luego ustedes suben lo suyo. Okidoki. Pero algo que aplica a ustedes que sea real. Ok. Puede también ser de, si en una serie va a suceder algo, puedes relacionarlo a algo como una serie o algo así, como ustedes quieran. Ok. ¿Alguien tiene preguntas? Si no, ya vamos a finalizar la clase de hoy. Les grabé la clase por si alguien llegó tarde o quiere verla de nuevo. Está grabada. Okidoki. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody. I will see you on Thursday.
See you, teacher. Have a nice
Thank you,
day.
teacher.
Thank you for connecting. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, teacher.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.